is sure. The premise is simple. It's a basic, primal confrontation, man to man. No excuses are offered, none accepted.
Welcome to the latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
Looks like a radio station.
Now, here are your hosts, lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers,
Pure athlete, yeah.
I transcend race, hombre.
Matt Butler,
I don't talk man. I back it up.
And we are chock full of that, man.
Damn right.
and Jeff Howe.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
If you're gonna blitz, come strong, or don't come at all.
Coming strong with another edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. I am Jeff Howe. Getting back to normalcy around here. National Signing Day is in the books.
You got some sleep?
I got some sleep.
That's good.
We've got a month, a little less than a month until spring practice starts. Some winter conditioning going on right now on the 40s, so a nice little lull. Doesn't look like we'll have any basketball to talk about as it relates to the NCAA tournament.
Hey, they beat Iowa State.
They got to win.
There you go.
Got to win. Not
Hey.
all is negative right now.
There you go.
Baseball season starts this weekend. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be out at the Dish, so if you see me, say hello if you're out at the Dish this weekend. But got a little lull right now. One of the few lulls we get during the year, Rod B, where
It's time to decompress, exhale a little bit, especially for you.
we get to
right
really
after signing day and all that.
This is one of those times we really get to analyze.
Yeah.
And just really kind of dig deep into you get the meat and potatoes all year round, but you get the veggies and the side dishes and the rolls and all the periphery during these little lulls right here. And that's what we'll get into on this latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. I am Jeff Howe. Let me bring in the rest of the team riding alongside me for this latest adventure. He is the master of the soundboard, the drop machine extraordinaire, the man behind the glass, the man, the myth, the legend, the best producer in the podcast game, Matt Butler. How are you today, good sir?
Quite well, actually. I started to think, though, I remember back in the day whenever weeks like this were like basically the day after Christmas when you realized it's the furthest away from Christmas, so then
Right.
you had to wait the longest. So, like, it's the same thing with football season, just not like a kid anymore. So it isn't as deflating as it used to be, but it's still, in reality, like, wow, man, you got about 8 months to sit around and wait around for maybe a little bit of football.
I know. See, now you just made me a little sad. Yeah, you know what I mean? Talking about the end of
Brought
football
it down.
season. Yeah.
Well, now also because of the offseason,
It's
though,
official.
something I promised that I've been working on here in a couple weeks. We'll do the Mac Brown show. That'll be something cool for the offseason.
For those of
Yeah.
you who don't know, Matt promised once upon a time to do a show where wherever Rod and I talked, Matt's responses would be nothing but Mac Brown drops
Great
back
idea.
to us.
It'll be
Beautiful
very
thing.
interesting.
No, it's going
So
to be great.
if, for example, if
It'll be
I
a classic
said,
show.
if I said, Matt, how are you today, sir? Your response would be,
It's a hard one.
just a little
We are
taste,
not good enough to go out there and stand around and win.
just a little taste
Oh,
of what
love
you
it.
get from
That's gonna be
Matt
one of my
on
favorite
a,
all-time
on a Mac
shows.
Brown episode.
It says it right there.
Mac will if Mac doesn't dislike me, he will dislike me once he gets word of that show.
No,
Yeah.
Mac loves you. Trust.
Sometimes you need to explain and talk about something.
I
Don't be sensitive.
Exactly. Thank you, Mac. Don't be sensitive.
And we try to do this with the show.
I do enjoy Coach Brown.
Oh,
So I don't see Mac near as much as I used to, but it's always good to see him.
My job is to bring all those factions back together.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Yes.
Speaking of truth.
Didn't quite get it done towards the end of his tenure, but that's
Well,
Tom
that's
Herman's
obvious.
job now. Clearly.
Didn't think I did my job.
So anyway, that'll be something to look forward to down the road. A man who played for Mac Brown and had success on the 40 acres under Mac Brown from
I've never said
1999 to 2002 was a 2002 All-American at the University of Texas, a semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, fourth-round draft choice, number 123 overall if you need him, by the New York Football Giants. Spent his NFL career with the Giants, Lions, Bears, Bucks, Broncos, and a year with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. Could have been a CFL Hall of Famer, but decided to give up the game and get back to Austin, Texas, where he earned his degree. If he had a T-ring, he'd wear it proudly. But he is a card-carrying member of DBU, number 21 in your program, number 1 in your hearts, Mr. Rod Babers. And
Appreciate the intro, brother.
there's something in my throat right there. Rod, can you believe this fall, it's going to be, I just thought about this the other day, it's going to be 15 years since your last season on the 40.
Yeah. It's a good point. Just trying to
It's a
make me
long
feel
time.
old, so I appreciate it.
Well, I mentioned that because
Trying
your
to-
last season on the 40 was also the last season on the 40 for one Kyle Shanahan, and it is
true.
official. Kyle Shanahan is now the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Rod, you
Yeah.
played with Shano. He was, as we've talked many stories here throughout our duration during the podcast. You've talked about the wood. That would be yourself, Kyle Shanahan, Bo Scaife, Chris Sims, Montrell Flowers. This was always the path for Kyle Shanahan, wasn't it? Correct?
Yeah,
Going
of
to
course.
coaching.
Yeah. Well, to be a head coach one day. Everybody knew what would happen, of course. He's got the name, and he's got the acumen. He checks all the boxes. That's
From
pretty
your-
obvious.
From your time around him, and you spent a little bit of time actually playing for Mike Shanahan in Denver with the Broncos. From your time around Shano, did you think it would happen for him this quickly, or did you think he had a chance to get in, get it done, and climb up the ladder as fast as he has?
Yeah, actually, I expected it to happen probably a little earlier than this. I expected
Really?
him to be one of the youngest head coaches in NFL history. I think he purposefully delayed it a little bit. Maybe he didn't think he was ready. Maybe he wanted more seasoning or whatever. But I think he could have gotten a shot. I think the Cleveland Browns, he was with the Browns for a while. The Atlanta Falcons, I think it was kind of the dream scenario for him, ended up with that offense. And his philosophy, Matt Ryan, an elite quarterback in a lot of respects, or at least in a lot of people's minds. So, yeah, I think it ended up being a perfect situation. Couldn't avoid this springboard. San Francisco 49ers, it's an all-time great organization, even though right now
It's a train
they're
wreck.
a bit of a dumpster fire. But separate than that, I mean, he comes in and they're going to give him full power over personnel. Lynch is coming in basically to handle all of the procedural front office responsibilities. But from what I am gathering, he's going to have control over personnel, and that's kind of a dream scenario for him.
There are two lifetime Longhorns who have gone on to be head coaches in the National Football League. One is Kyle Shanahan. The other is Tom Landry. So
That's a good
he's
stat. I
a
like
pretty
that.
pretty
like
select
that.
company.
It's a good stat there. No, people don't talk about Tom Landry enough as a Longhorn.
He's Tom.
It's
As we
crazy.
talk about, Tom Landry is a member of DBU.
I don't even know why he doesn't have stat. You would never know Tom Landry went to Texas.
No.
Just even walking through there. I hope Tom Herman does something to pay tribute to Tom Landry. I didn't know that after I left Texas that Tom Landry went to Texas. And I'm at least I consider myself a historian of sorts, at least in DBU. I have to find that out after.
It's Tom
Afterwards.
Landry.
It's Tom freaking Landry.
He's an American hero.
Yeah, I agree. No doubt about it. I couldn't believe that. I don't know why Texas doesn't, brag
Promote that
about that.
more.
I don't get it. And in Texas, of all places, I don't get it.
I'm just glad that when they changed the requirements to get your number retired at the school to where it used to be Heisman winners. Now, just if you were a National Player of the Year award winner, you can get your number retired. That's how Kevin Durant gets his jersey retired and TJ Ford. But it allows you to honor Tommy Nobis and Bobby Lane. Those are two guys that now when you walk into the stadium, maybe it's your first UT game, maybe you're a young kid, you don't know that much. Now you get to ask questions and people have to know about Tommy Nobis and Bobby Lane from an era long ago, but great Longhorns nonetheless.
No, it'll be interesting to see how Tom Herman and his staff, how they reinvent Moncrief, how they reinvent the facilities. Because, that you got to pay homage to the tradition, respect the tradition. But as Tom Herman has pointed out, you also have to make sure you're relating to 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. So, Clemson has a nap room. I'm sure they have other stuff there. They have a nap room.
Clemson has a slide in their new facility.
You know what I mean?
You seen
Yeah.
that?
I'm like, man, a nap room? Like, damn, I would really like a nap room, actually. You know what I mean? But, you don't need a nap room. But, yeah, these are little things that, I don't know, somehow relate to millennials. So, yeah, it's a delicate balance.
We might as
Tom
well
Herman.
start there, guys. Start our conversation. I do want to talk about
And
some.
Don't take down my picture, Tom Herman. I got one picture up in Moncrief. Just leave it up there,
Keep
man.
the legends there.
I got more than that because I think in the DB room, and I don't know what they're gonna do with the DB room either. Remember when Akina was there? They had
He had
the
the
money wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everybody was up there. If you went to the NFL and you got a chance to make some money, boom, you go up on the money wall. And I don't know what they're gonna do with the DB room. So I had a picture there, and then I had one with like all the All Americans, and now. I don't know. At least give me the picture. Hey, how about this, Tom Herman? If you're going to take down my picture, and I understand that you're like, I got a scrub. We want more of the all-time great, the top 10 of DBU. That's cool. Give me the pictures. Like, give them to me. I want them. Don't trash them. Don't throw them out in some alley somewhere. All right, that deal. So somebody pass that along to him. I might tweet that at him. If you take my pictures out in Moncrief, please just hand it over to I don't know, give it to Chip, the equipment guy. I'll pick it up from Chip.
I want to talk about facilities.
Yes,
I want to talk
that.
about some kind of winter conditioning stuff that'll dovetail into spring ball. But I want to start at the top of the show, just kind of get some opinions around the room. To talk about this Baylor thing. We haven't really had a chance to dig into it. We've had a coaching change to talk about, and then we got into recruiting. So we kind of had to gloss over the Baylor thing. It's disturbing, and I mean it's disturbing any way you slice it. It seems like when you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. And aside from the thing with Matt Rule's strength coach and the being arrested and the prostitution sting, that you got to separate the two.
Because that was a previous regime.
Right, it's two different regimes.
They're different scandals, and I agree with you. People don't know that. Yeah.
Right, so you gotta separate the two. They're both heinous in their own right, but
I would disagree there.
I would disagree. So
I mean, just
one is
one's
heinous,
a crime.
and yes, there are levels of sadness.
Illegal in an area.
I said in their own right. They're not
heinous.
It's not. It's pretty bad, Rod.
Prostitution.
I mean, if you're in certain states, it's
oldest,
legal. It's just different.
It's the oldest profession.
If you're an assistant coach at Baylor.
No, I agree.
You should know better.
No, I agree, but at least
it's just
at
least we see these things from players to other coaches to I heard a great comparison. Rick Pitino was illegally having sex in a restaurant bathroom with a woman, and I mean, just because one's paid for or not, it's still both are bad. It's bad, but it's so far away
not all sins are equal.
I get that. I'm just saying, if you're an assistant coach at Baylor, you have to know better.
Well, you should, especially considering Baylor. I would just say anywhere. It's another.
No.
It's because
especially
it's Baylor.
Considering the climate that you're in right now. He is an idiot.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's just agree this. This guy failed the idiot.
That's all I was saying.
All right, this guy has no clue. This guy, you don't want this guy working in your organization. You're glad this happened. You're like, man, this guy's an idiot. There's no telling how stupid he could have been. He could have done something dumber than this. After the Baylor scandal, a scandal about, matter of fact, you're still in the middle of it, by the way.
Lacking self-awareness.
It is, exactly. You're dealing with a scandal about sexual assault without demeaning attitudes towards women, all that kind of stuff. And then you decide in Waco to get a prostitute. Now, I'm sure he got this because prostitution has gone space age, by the way. Because people don't know this. And people are like, oh, yeah, the prostitute. He did not go drive around Waco looking for a prostitute. And Waco doesn't have that many great prostitutes anyway. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just throwing that out.
Taking a shot in the dark.
I'm assuming they don't have like a great, grades of levels of prostitutes.
Not many champagne rooms.
Yeah, so it's not like a hookers. He found them on, I believe, this is just what I believe, that he found it on a website, arranged it, and then he was going to the hotel to meet the woman he arranged to meet, and that's when he got busted in the prostitution sting. That's what the stings are now. They're online.
Yeah, I wonder if he was like on Craigslist or like a back page of
it's
a Chronicle.
Stuff. Yeah, it's like back page.
Anyway, back to the topic we're talking about.
That is the topic.
Right. But the thing I wanted to touch on was the Art Briles thing, and just get this out there because we haven't talked about this. When this stuff went down in the fall, I really thought there was a chance Art Briles would coach again. And my rationale was, man, as long as you're keeping score, as long as they're still keeping score on Saturday, at some point there will be an athletic director or a university president or a group of regents members, whomever it is, that decides, man, we're tired of losing. Man, let's just go hire Art Briles. Let's just bite the bullet. Maybe if you even send up a test balloon just to see what it would do. Mm-hmm. After this stuff, Rod, with the text messages getting out, I don't see how there's any way Art Briles coaches again.
Yeah,
I just there's no way.
Not in college for sure.
Because before it was still largely speculation and hearsay, and well, maybe this is as cut and dried as you can get with the text messages between him and the player personnel director and the AD. To me, there's no way you can hire Art Briles if you're an institution of higher learning. You just can't.
Yes,
there's no way.
I think that's the key as a college. I wouldn't doubt that Art Briles would end up in some film room in the NFL as a consultant or something like that.
Yeah, Belichick.
Right. You know what I mean? I really wouldn't. And you know what? I think a lot of people be like, nah, all right, that's fine. He may get a little backlash for it. People be like, as long as we don't see him, he's not allowed on the sideline. As long as we don't see that guy, we're fine. I mean, it's like, see no evil, then,
Hear
boom,
no evil.
boom, that kind of thing. So I truly believe that at one point he may coach again. He's definitely not going to coach again at a school.
No,
That's not going to. He's not going to be around
school.
young people after those text messages because they are damning about how much he knew and his blatant disregard for the welfare of the students
Lack
there.
of empathy or
I mean,
humanity.
it was just it's ugly. And I got to tell you, the fact I know the Big 12 has recently made a gesture. Big 12 finally decided to grow a very small pair and have a gesture towards Baylor with, I think, sanctions of money.
Let's not call it a punishment. It's
Yeah,
a gesture.
exactly. It ain't a punishment. That's why I call it a
Gesture's
gesture.
a good word.
I got
to
something
put
on that,
It's not a
too.
punishment. It's not because I can't. It's just them. They do this all the time. Remember Big 12 Media Days? My theory is that they threw a smoke screen at everybody about expansion, and that was right when the Baylor scandal had dropped, and everybody's gonna be like, "Hey, we're gonna grill the Big 12 about the Baylor scandal." And they come out, "We're expanding, guys. We're expanding. We're thinking about it." You're like, "Whoa!"
Despite what Grobe's saying
where
over
did
there on
that
the mic.
come from? Yeah, and then now, come to find out that they never really were serious about expansion at all. Yeah, of course they weren't.
And
that was all a smoke screen. But anyway, my point is the people that think like that's where the Big 12, that's where their allegiances lie. It was like looking after their own interests, their own self-interest. I don't trust them to, number one, what are they going to do? They said they would have to pass some type of
third party
independent. What? I don't trust them to handle that. And the money. Listen, if you know this, Jeff, you know this better than anybody. If you want to hurt a college football program or a college athletics program, you take the mother's milk. You take scholarships. Money, hell, man, you can call up a booster and write a check, get the money. You know what I mean? The money's there. They got money's there, all right? But if you want to hurt a program, you take the scholarships. That's where you go.
Long-lasting effects.
And everybody knows that's where you go. And they didn't go to the mother's milk. So that gesture does nothing.
And then on top of that, with the Big 12, when I saw what they did, I sort of thought about it as like, well, if you really cared about making it be to where good light to the situation, why would you just take the money and keep it? You should have got Baylor's cut and donated it to something that can help support that cause or to prevent these type of things from happening at other institutions, instead of just being like, no, Baylor, you don't get the money, and we're just going to keep all the money.
Did they immediately take the money, or is it future earnings?
Well, either way,
it's
they're
going to be
taking
an
it. They're
escrow.
seizing it.
Did they seize it already, or is it already like IRS? Like we will take it out of your check.
You aren't getting your conference money payment.
They're withholding.
They're gonna withhold the
they're
money.
keeping it, and it's in escrow.
So
okay,
that's where I was
I
like,
gotcha.
okay, so you're just keeping it for yourself. It's like if you were going to disperse it amongst everybody and
they're gonna
actually
give it
care
back.
about it.
That's the whole point. That's why this is a fraud. This is
I
a
know.
sham.
That's why I'm
They're
saying
gonna-
that, like,
they're
it's
gonna give it
really
back.
shamus.
After
Exactly.
they pass the third
It's
party,
only staying in power in the Big 12. I was like,
Yeah.
that sickened me when I heard
the
that.
third party investigation. They're gonna give the money right back. This is all posturing, man. This is a sham.
Yeah.
This is fake.
Yep.
Well, we should be used to this kind of stuff. This is what's
Just
happening
like you
right
said
now.
happened to Media Days.
This
They're
is
doing
the
it again
Big
and keeping
12's
the
way
money.
of dealing with stuff.
Yes, exactly.
I want to bring this up real quick before we move on to other matters. I know I'm looking at the Facebook Live and I see CB, and CB's been vocal about it on Twitter. Kick Baylor out of the Big 12. I've seen give Baylor the death penalty. I'm against giving Baylor the death penalty for this reason. To me, there's no point in punishing parties that had nothing to do with what happened there previously. If you want to put lifetime bans on Art Briles, on anybody that worked for Art Briles, on Ian McCall, you want to punish them, go ahead, NCAA. They won't do it because we've seen the NCAA just has no testicular fortitude when it comes to these matters. If you want to do that and punish those people that were involved in it, great. I just don't see the point in punishing coaches and players and taking that away from them when they had nothing to do with it. Now, Rod, to your point, if you want to take away scholarships, to me, that's something you can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's something tangible that makes sense. That you're
if you were serious, you would.
Right.
But they're not serious.
No, and I don't.
They want the facade.
At the end of the day, because the NCAA, they botched the Miami investigation, they botched the UCLA Shabazz Muhammad investigation, the way they reacted to the Penn State thing. I don't think we're going to see anything happen with Baylor.
And that's why they're not going to get the death penalty because, listen, if you can't get the death penalty for a scandal about sexually assaulting children on the mass scale, oh, well, I mean,
It's literally crazy.
Nobody will ever get a death penalty
It all
for
comes
anything.
down to just the only time the death penalty, unless for some
Oh,
reason
you know what?
you
I'm
get
sorry.
busted paying the players.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
like,
yeah, you
only
forgot,
if it's
yeah.
involved with paying the players.
Okay,
That's the only way they've ever done it.
So
Like,
all sins
whatever.
are not equal, but even sexually assaulting children in the NCAA's mind is a little bit lower down
because
on the totem
it's
pole
literally
than paying players.
isn't directed to the field. Like if it's directed to the player playing on the field, they have shown
You
that
can't
they are
touch
not
that.
going to let that happen.
Can't touch that.
If it's one case removed from the
Tattoo
player on
gate.
the field,
Tattoo
then
gate,
you can
right?
go around
Can't
everywhere.
even give you bowl gifts to get tattoos.
Yes.
Yet sexual assault and sexually assaulting kids. You know what? We can't tell. Remember they gave Penn State like a 4-year ban. Then
backtrack half year because
Backtrack
the
half
NCAA was incompetent and botched all their stuff and proved that they had
They're
biases and other type of
Please break
investigations.
away from that organization.
Right now, you're at the power that you don't need to.
Power 5, please do.
Where the Baylor thing relates to matters at home on the home front on the 40 acres.
Yeah.
Is the Casey Horney situation. And Tom Herman addressed it last week during his signing day press conference, said he was vetted, said Mike Perrin was involved in the vetting process. He got a letter from Mac Rose, the AD at Baylor, saying Casey Horney knew nothing. My question is this. It's not a matter of, to me, and I've looked at this a number of different ways, it's not even a matter of what necessarily Casey Horney did or didn't know. To me, that's not the crux of this as far as his employment at Texas is concerned. It's a matter of if you really ask Tom Herman honestly and privately, was it worth the trouble? Like, to hire a quality control. People don't understand. You're pretty low on the totem pole if you're the quality control coach for special teams.
Yes, he probably makes around, $45,000 or something like that.
I've heard it's more than that. I don't want to get into the dollar figures. I've heard from somebody who has like some sort of form of employment. Yeah, but
a little more or a lot more than that?
I'd say a little bit more.
Okay, that's all.
But basically, yeah, you're not making. You're not making. You know,
you're not making it. You don't even. Yeah, you don't register.
Really. I haven't seen the contracts for the new staff. I would imagine the lowest paid assistant at Texas is probably making in the neighborhood of right about $260 a year somewhere.
Yeah, easy
around there. Yeah,
easy.
So that part of it. So you're pretty low on the, you're on one of the bottom rungs if you're the quality control coach for special teams. You're not coaching players. You're basically a paid intern for the special teams coach. Basically what it amounts to.
Yeah. Crunching numbers, crunching data, watching film.
I just don't – I know Tom Herman and Casey Horney are close. I know they GA'd together at Texas. Rod, I know Casey Horney was the DB GA when you were on the 40
acres. I know
acres.
Casey Horney very well.
I guess the question you got to ask Tom Herman is, was it worth it? Was it worth all the trouble and the backlash and the fans being angry? Because the fans are mad. There's a section of the Burnt Orange faithful that are mad, and I think they've got every right to be in question. Why was this guy hired? What was the process of hiring him?
I agree. You know, okay, listen. Tom Herman is Mensa, right? He's a smart guy.
Right.
He's worked in the media. He knows. He knows the climate. He knows about the Baylor thing. He knows the backlash was coming and all that kind of stuff. I question how they handled it. That was my big thing. 'Cause I think they kind of mishandled the whole thing. That's a different discussion. But what I think it came down to, this is just me and us. This is my theory on it, from what I've gathered from behind the Burnt Orange curtain. I truly believe it's like you just brought up Kyle Shanahan, right? The Wood, Chris Sims, Bo Scaife, Montrell Flowers. Love those guys. They got families and responsibilities, so we don't get to talk as much as we want to. But if I call those guys up and the fit has hit the shan, if you will, and I need something, I probably can get it.
Yeah.
Like that. Those are my dogs. Like even if I was involved, if I was Casey Horney right now, and I was in like that situation, and those guys, I could get hooked up with a favor if I really, really needed, and I was desperate enough. And take that these guys started out as GAs together. They got a little photo of all of them together. Yeah, they started out kind of like the Wood started out. And that's what I thought of when I was like, oh man, this is all that's old school, man.
And when you get
doing them a favor. No, but going to this because, and we know the Baylor thing is getting worse. You just said it. He is not like he's not an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. He's not saying Casey Horney's not a great coach or anything, a good coach, but he's not somebody that you need to roll the dice and take that risk on. He's not going to make or break your alignment of your coaching staff. No, but you know what? It's going to be hard for Casey Horney to do after that scandal. Get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Or unless you want to take a huge step back and go down to Division II and all that. You know what I mean? And maybe wifey doesn't want to do that, Jeff. Hey. You know what I mean? Maybe wifey's like, I don't know.
Right.
We were at Baylor for, 9 years? And I want our next step to be, you know what I mean? All those things play a role. And I think it came down to he needed a favor. I wasn't going to be able to get a good job with this scandal and everything being what it is. And it's still coming out. Look what's still happening.
Exactly.
Hell, you think he would have been able to get a job by now? No. And he spent most of his coaching career with Art Browse. He had hitched himself to that Art Browse wagon. He was that was it. Ride or die. And unfortunately, die.
Yeah, and when
his coaching career was going to die, and he didn't want it to die, and he called in his favor. And I tell you right now, Casey Horney, right now for Tom Herman, he'll be his AC Kyle. He'll drive that white Bronco. If Tom Herman needs it, no matter what the hell happens, he's got Tom Herman's back. Tom Herman knows it. He's like, and Tom Herman's big about what? Loyalty. And he's big about alignment, all that kind of stuff. He said that. He's all about it, man. I'm real loyal and all that kind of stuff. It's just doing one of your boys a favor.
Well, and also
he knew he was going to get blowback for it, Jeff. He knew it.
And I think, though, you using the word your boys right there is also something that can be a part where you trust a small circle of people. If you've known somebody for so long, maybe being as smart as Herman did, I don't think he just is blindly going with the friend, even though it happened to be that it was his friend, so it got him in the room. Then he sat down and probably talked to his friend and could tell if his friend was blowing smoke up his ass or if he was actually genuine. And I would bet that, like, say you, Rod, you and Shanahan and Sims, y'all aren't always around each other. But if you sat down and wanted to have a talk, you'd be able to tell, and you would trust your friend that of so long, and that you would be like, all right, he's telling the truth or he's lying. And it's like, I'm not going to abandon somebody if I feel like he's being truthful. There's nothing that went against him. So that's where, like, how we go back to talking about trust was one continuity that we've heard when we saw Herman start to get this entire staff, not talking just about Horning, but it just seemed like that was something that's been big with him since he began at Texas, and those roots and those people. So if it's one of the few people you've had the longest professional relationship with and have a personal relationship with, no more intimately than anybody else, I think you'd be able to tell if you should or not cut the rope or be able to bring him back in. And in this case, it happened to be that I bet he believed his friend.
And you know it's not about Casey Horney's coaching expertise. If that was the case, he'd have pulled them at U of H.
Yeah.
He'd have made sure he pulled them at U of H. That wasn't the case. No, it was all, they kept in touch. I'm sure they communicated, but it wasn't about that, man. I truly believe it was about doing somebody a favor. And I will, listen, I know Casey Horney. I remember I didn't know Tom Herman because he was on the offensive side, but I remember Casey Horney very well. Casey Horney is a good guy. I know Casey Horney very well. I will vouch to say Casey Horney's a good guy.
I have friends of his.
He was stupid for what he did on Twitter. He was stupid. He was and if they find out that he was somehow involved in it, then I'm wrong. And he is a bad person. Like a lot of people are wrong about our brows. But from what I know, man, I mean, he was never investigated. They didn't call him up in Pepper Hamilton. So I mean, I understand why. I agree with you. I don't know why Tom Herman would risk it. My only thing I can say is it had to be because they used to be close like butt cheeks, man. They down like 4 flat tires. They boys, man. They old school.
No,
you got boys like that.
I get
it.
Yeah.
Everybody got boys like that. Like, man, if he needed it, we don't keep up like that. But if he needed it, or I needed it, I know he got my back. He my AC. Everybody need an AC in their life. Somebody who would drive their white Bronco. No questions asked. And I think they got a relationship similar to that. That's just my theory.
That's the only thing that makes sense, right? Because I don't know why you would risk, throwing away what goodwill you're trying to build with a new fan base. Over a quality control coach for special teams.
Agreed.
And that's why I think to him it's not a risk. Maybe he thinks he made a decision that just needed to be made. It was.
I think he knows it's a risk. I think he knows.
Well, I calculate a risk that's not going to make it backfire to where it's going to be a bad idea.
You know why it's a risk? Because if Casey Horney does a great job, we'll never know it.
True.
You know what I mean? Like the fans will never know.
Right.
So the fans will keep it and tell him like, man, he's doing a
But I
great
think
job.
to
for
him,
it.
he's like he
exactly. But pub is all about perception, right? Perception is reality. So he did take he took a huge risk. I'm with you,
Calculated
Jeff.
risk.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to go through all the reasons, the benefit, the cost. Benefit
Right.
analysis here, the cost risk analysis. I'm trying to go through it, and I'm like, man, I can't really. I'm trying to
It would
figure
either
it out.
be dumb or not much risk. I don't know.
I think it's just, hey man, he's my boy. My boy needed a favor, man. He needed it bad. He wasn't gonna be able to get a job. I don't know that for a fact. This is all just Robbie's theory on me gathering intel and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Again, it's just one of those deals I don't,
I just can't understand. This is my thing. Can I just say, what upsets
go
me
ahead,
real
go ahead,
quick?
Rob.
This is what upsets me about that. This is why I always say they got that. Ever since Mac Brown left, they got a public relations problem over there. Like a media relations problem. Like when they hired Casey Horney, when he hires Casey Horney, why not have and say, hey man, keep it quiet right now, Casey. You don't have a job because Casey Horney's the one who announced it on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
That's how people found out.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that wasn't smart.
Twitter's his worst enemy.
No. Why not just say no? Don't. Nobody's paying attention to Casey Horney. Say, Casey, you're hired, but we gotta, this Baylor thing. We gotta go do some homework. We gotta do some research on it. We gotta vet it. Even your social media, like you gotta vet all that stuff, man. So nobody thought to go, man. Remember when you? So first of all, nobody knew about the tweets. That means that detail didn't happen in the conversation. Right, that they had when they all vetted him and everything.
Yeah.
Like so that little detail didn't come out, and then he tweets out. Then the media, it was really good, especially in Austin, Texas.
They're just waiting.
They're learning
for
that right
there.
now. Right?
They're just waiting on social media for stuff.
They're waiting on something. Like,
Yes.
and they start doing research. They find out, he's got these tweets where he's endorsing and Art Briles, and he's advocating for Art Briles and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, nobody at Texas behind the burnt orange curtain in this multi-million-dollar business thought to go, whoa, you're associated with the Baylor scandal. Public relations 101. Let's make sure all your social media, everything is up to par. Matter of fact, we might have to delete the whole damn thing. You know what I mean?
Don't press in.
Nobody did that. Or they discussed it and didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa.
That'd be arrogance.
Either one is like, whoa, what is going on? So I was more upset about that. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, we got to do better than that. I mean, it's the biggest scandal in college football right now.
And you're just down the road.
And you just nobody decided to go, hey man, you need to delete your Twitter. Or you gotta do something. We gotta delete these tweets. Nobody did that.
No?
Nobody thought about it. And I'm like, and then they should have not only said nobody talk about it. Right now you don't have a job with Texas publicly, but between us you do, but publicly you don't, so we purge everything.
Well.
And then you dump that damn story when the Cowboys are playing. You know what I mean? Like when Aaron Rodgers throws that pass,
the Friday night news dump. Yeah.
Whatever.
Because you
know
have
what
to
I
put
mean?
those job
You
openings
dump-
out there
what?
for a state
You
unit, so
dump
put it
that
out there
thing.
then.
Yeah, whenever there's a big story, you're like, Trump did what? Oh, boop. And you know what I mean? Like, you dump that story.
Super
Come
Bowl.
on, man. Public relations 101. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I understand the other issue about, what he did, and nobody knows what he did or he didn't do. That's just what it comes down to. You just guessing.
What he
and
knew
you're
or
angry.
didn't know.
You know what I mean? We know the tweets. And the tweets, you can gather from that what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you trust Tom Herman? If you trust Tom Herman, then you have to think he vetted him.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you think Tom Herman's shady. Then you're on a whole nother level. See?
So it's like, I'm loyal to my coach. That's why I was tweeting about him, and now I'm loyal to you,
Putting this all
Herman.
together, I'm giving Tom Herman the benefit of the doubt that he did vet him.
Exactly.
But to your point, Rod, the way it was handled, or should I say wasn't handled, that just kind of makes you wonder, okay,
who's in control? What's going on? I thought there were 3 levels of checks and balances, right? Tom Herman, president, athletic director, like somebody in those 3 got to start asking questions like me, like whoa. Hey, man,
somebody missed a memo or didn't get a memo.
Oh man, what's up with this? Like of those 3, and those are really smart guys. Like somebody's got to be like, hey man, you ever put something out on Twitter saying something? Because them coaches, they were putting out crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Nobody said that. Nobody asked that question. So that's what upset me, the handling of it. And Texas has had issues with handling stuff like this. Charlie Strong stuff, Mac Brown stuff, going back.
Offensive coordinator searches and Rod B cutting loose on the radio after the BYU game.
That was the least of their worries. I thought, anyway.
It was a situation at one point in time, was it not, Rod?
Turns out it was a bigger issue than I thought. Me cutting loose on the radio. Who knew? Yeah.
It was a situation, though, was it not?
It was a situation.
For a time, it was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
Seems
was.
like so long ago. That picture's somewhere floating around the internet, by the way. I'm sure it's on Shaggy Bevo or something with Matt Rod and Dwayne Akina and Manny Diaz.
I think I got that saved somewhere.
That fateful night in Provo. I've got the picture saved on my computer of Mac Brown using our website, using Horns 24/7.
Oh, yeah, in the background.
He was doing something for LHN, and it's like on his desk. Yeah, and the message board's pulled up.
That is awesome.
Somebody sent me a screenshot. I was like, man, that
it was Mac reading.
That interface looks familiar. I'm like, wait a minute.
That is awesome.
I know where I've seen that before.
You know what? There is something changing. I remember when coaches like Mac, they didn't want people to know that they were reading the news or paying. Remember Mac Brown was like, I don't read newspapers. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Like, turns out Mac pays a lot of attention to that stuff. But now,
yeah, that's the biggest load of crap.
But now, it's like now. Coaches, they reckon Dabo Swinney brought up Colin Cowherd.
It's
what I mean?
It's like it's kind of like one of those things. No disrespect, but I'm about to disrespect you.
Exactly.
When a coach says, "I don't really read that," that means they read it.
They read it. So it's a couple. It's like, well, Donald Trump watches Saturday Night Live, so you know what I mean. Like he watches the award shows. Our president watches a lot of TV, so he's kind of the prime example of that.
No disrespect to the Orientals.
It's an unfortunate yet a great bit.
That is a great drop.
But no, I mean what were we just talking about?
We were just talking about the
surprise
coaches.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, surprise things. Just coaches reading stuff and whatnot.
They do. If somebody had a blog and had a website that was fully devoted to talking about you would read it.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
Yeah.
All right? That's just the way it is.
I feel better about
they read it.
I feel better about it when coaches admit it, though.
Yeah, I do too. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I just don't know how much they do it, because I know we all have downtime at our jobs, right? So what do you do in your downtime? You're on Twitter, you're on social media, you're on Facebook, whatever. They have downtime too. Every now and then,
man, that'd be awesome to get
Belichick.
the true guilty pleasures.
Everybody except like Belichick. There are a few psychos that have no downtime.
No, Belichick does something on his downtime. I would like to know what that is.
College football coaches have to have downtime because they have to tweet. They have to.
It's one of those too. If you're a coach, do you seek it out, or does does the SID kind of bring it to you as it comes in?
I agree with that.
Like I don't think Charlie Strong was the type of coach. I don't think he sought it out.
Yeah.
I think there was stuff that was brought to his attention, but just the times I would talk to Charlie about
it wasn't a hobby.
One time in particular, I don't think he really sought it out. I think people would be, hey, did you see such and such, or did you hear about?
I agree with
what
that.
so-and-so said or whatever. Yeah. I don't think Charlie actively sought that stuff out.
Some coaches genuinely don't care. I agree with this.
Yeah, and I think some coaches –
and the younger they get, the more they're going to care.
Do seek it out.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Tom Herman, the place Tom Herman occupies on a daily basis, the Moncrief Complex.
Is he one of those?
There's been
does he care?
Well, I don't know yet.
I've heard he does.
I don't know yet.
The Cougars would say he does. Cougar fans would say he does.
I mean, as a media member, I haven't been through a spring ball with Tom Herman to get any kind of feedback like that. So, I mean, Rod, you know the deal. I would get feedback from Mac. Not from Mac directly, but somebody that in the office, in the building.
A consigliere would seek you out.
Somebody in the building
Max consigliere would seek you
might
out.
drop you a text and say, hey, Coach Brown read what you wrote and he's not too happy with it.
Despite what he says.
That's just what happens. I mean, it's a reality situation. Mac's not there anymore. I mean, I can share it. And the person that was telling me that's not there anymore, so what does it matter? But no, I mean, that's kind of stuff happened. It's not like intimidation. It's more of like giving you a heads up type thing. That's how I took it. I didn't take it as intimidation.
It's actually a compliment.
Some people take it different ways. I just took it as, hey, just heads up in case you know somebody stops you in the hallway or whatever. This might be what it's about.
All right,
type
nice.
thing.
Little heads up.
But, and so Bill Belichick is
but
the
I
Tommy
say that
Lee
because
Jones.
that didn't really happen during the Strong regime. That didn't really happen during Charlie's tenure.
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, I talked to Charlie about it the couple of times I was able to talk to Charlie kind of like off the record and just kind of talk shop a little bit. He didn't come out and say, but he didn't strike me as a guy that, like I said, sought out the information.
That's usually a culture thing, and Mac did care about the perception of him, and it worked out well for him. It was really smart of him to do that, and that culture is it sets a tone throughout the program, and I don't know if Tom Herman is. There's the Brian Davis report about him telling parents not to talk to the media, and then obviously,
in the quote, talking about the media, it's so awesome.
I wonder, and there are examples of him getting into it with members of the media.
I
in
think
Houston.
Charlie took the approach though, right? And I think we know this. We talked about this ad nauseum, but I think it was one of those deals where I don't think Charlie invested in that stuff because I think he knew from the beginning if I don't win enough games, it's not going to matter.
That may be your answer, that once you win, like Belichick, then you can go Tommy Lee Jones.
I don't care.
Basically, that's
or
it.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, when you win, you don't care, and you can get to that point.
Max tenure is a perfect example when that run from 01 to 09 when I think you're 69-9 or whatever, and you're winning national championships and Big 12 titles, 10-win seasons.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to control the message and to keep things in-house.
All the messages are positive.
Exactly.
It's like 3 negative messages.
Exactly.
And then you can call those people like, you can call them out like Trump. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You know what I mean? You really can because, there's like 3 of those
You have
people.
all the power.
Yeah.
It's that.
Nick Saban did that
from 2000 from the 2010 season to the end.
It's
how a lot more stuff was getting out. We're finding out a lot more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's not just writing for Horns 24/7, but all the multiple media outlets that cover Texas.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about websites and the papers and the TV stations. Everybody's got sources, and everybody kind of has a little bit of an idea what's going on behind the burnt orange curtain. When times are bad, that's usually, and
it's hard to control.
Honestly, man, the information flowed pretty easily a lot easier than I thought it would be during the Charlie Strong
because a lot
era.
of people behind the scenes were displeased.
Right.
You had all these factions that were growing up that wanted power and that wanted either they wanted Mac out or they were for. You know what I mean? So when that happens, hell, there's no loyalty. It's like everybody's trying to get power. It's like Game of Thrones, hell, man. Everybody's trying to get power at that point. And that's what you saw on Texas. It's interesting. It really is. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And then when they get the power, it's Saban.
I could give a about all that. Excuse my French.
You'll be proud of me, Rod. Speaking of Game of Thrones, I'm actually all the way caught up.
Yeah!
So made it all the way through.
Dude.
I could give a about all that. Excuse my French.
What is this? Seven's the next season, right?
It's the last season. And they're going to split it up into like 2
I think it's 2 like 8 episodes.
It's gonna be, and they're off script now, off book, I should say, because they're done with the book series too.
Man, that Jon Snow thing was crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Jon Snow. Jon Snow. Yeah.
My wife got me into it. She's like, "You need to watch it." And then
man.
I got into it, man. So I'm caught up.
There you go. Come on, get on it, folks. I'm telling you, it got everything for you.
Yeah,
everything.
I thought Joffrey was really bad till I found out about Ramsey Bolton.
Oh, you think?
I thought he was really bad.
I think Joffrey would have, if he lived, he'd have been worse than Ramsey because he had more power and he was crazier. But you're right, Ramsey was just a
sadistic,
mofo, man.
Just sociopathic.
He really was, man. Yeah, that dude was. Yeah, you're right. Okay, was he more hated? Really quickly, was he more hated than what's his name? Was it Stannis? That one that burned his daughter?
Stannis?
Stannis, to me, he is the most hated because he burned his own daughter. And then it didn't even matter.
We're dropping spoilers,
he
folks.
lost.
Sorry about this. This is a few seasons ago.
And I'm like, so I think he is the most hated character.
But Stannis got his in the end, though. We know that much,
yes,
right?
he did.
So
but you burned your own daughter,
it all
man.
kind of washed out.
Come on. I know. All right, sorry. Get back to it.
Off of Game of Thrones.
I can do that all day.
No.
We do a Game of Thrones podcast, dog. I would kill it.
Going back to facilities, though, Rod, you brought it up at the top of the show. Moncrief Complex has to change, man. A lot in the Moncrief Complex hasn't changed
since I was there.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is still the same.
Since I was there.
When you start looking around, other facilities, and this was brought to my attention. You look at the weight room at Texas, and I know the floor got replaced last summer. That was long overdue.
Yeah, it was like coming up.
But if you've been to the weight room at Texas, and this was brought to me, is that have you been to the weight room at Iowa State, which is where Yancey McKnight came from? And I said, what? I have been in the weight room at Iowa State because when you do the post game press conference in Ames, it's done in the weight room. So yes, I have been in the weight room, and yes, I can say from firsthand knowledge. The weight room at Iowa State is better than the weight room at Texas.
Oh, get out of here, man. That is an alternative fact, sir.
I'm just my own eyes.
That is an alternative fact.
That's so funny.
It's a better setup. I'm telling you. It is a better setup.
Is it bigger?
Opinions are alternative facts.
There's more functional space because, in the weight room at Moncrief, you got the support pillars that are kind of everywhere.
Yeah,
there's more functional space at Iowa State.
Is it just wide open? Well, you don't have to get into
that.
I just can't believe that you would say
there's
that.
There's more functional space. Yeah, I think it's a better weight room.
When I saw Lake Travis's weight room about a decade ago, I was like, dear Lord, this is like Texas's.
Well,
that's where Lake Travis
was thinking too, like the weight room the weight room Corby Meekins left at Spring Westfield is on par, if not better than what they have at Texas.
No, that's what Lake Travis has had. Lake Travis has an indoor facility.
I'm telling you,
I know Lake Travis. Lake Travis is like a little college.
I was up there. I was up there the spring they finished it. They had just finished it a couple days ago, and I went there, and Coach Meekins kind of gave me the tour, and this is what we're doing. And I was like, man, this is nicer than a lot of colleges have. Like, it really was. That's the battle Texas is fighting. And I don't know if it was just neglect or just, hey, we're Texas. We have great facilities,
over time.
right?
No, it was the culture, too. It was complacent. Everybody became complacent. We know that even.
Man,
and if you think about, though, whenever Texas got into the money really got into college sports in the late 90s. So Texas was one of the first ones to advance and be cool.
Yes.
But now you are 15 years behind if you are the only one that now is going to have a computer that's 15 years old. Go get something new. It's going to be quick and easy.
Jeff, remember Mac? When Mac was recruiting me, dude, he was selling the stadium, too. He was like, we're gonna close off the stadium. We're gonna finish up the horseshoe.
Biggest TV ever.
He was pitching what just got finished. I don't know, what 6, 7, 8 years ago, or whatever. When they
it finished in 08.
He was pitching that in '99.
Yeah.
All right. They had like little drawings they showed to you, like something made up, and like, yeah, this is what it's gonna be, guys. It's gonna be just like this. So I remember that, and I remember what Matt's talking about. That when Texas put the big money into it, Mac galvanized all the boosters and the donors, and was like, hey, man. If you want the best, we got to put money into it. We got to invest into it.
And there was a time where Texas was one of the best schools in the country when it came to facilities.
And it was actually, I think it was when I was there.
Yeah,
it was that 2000 to 2005 era.
Yeah.
It was still, but then it's slowly falling
behind. That time is long past. As I say, anytime I have a conversation.
Once the big screen came after that, it's been.
Anytime I have a conversation with a Texas fan, it's when's it going to turn around? Why is it not turning around? My answer is simple. My answer is as simple as this. It's been a long time since VY crossed the goal line. You need to get out of that realm of thinking that it's just going to flip.
Yeah.
Like it's not just going to turn around. It didn't get to where it's at overnight. It's not going to get back to that level overnight either.
It's never going to get brand new. It's like Baylor just built a brand new facility. Like if they were to do it, they would have to build something new.
Tom Herman has a great analogy. He says, like painting a Golden Gate Bridge, right? He said, by the time you get done painting the whole damn thing, you might as well start right over again because that's how long it takes to paint it. Like that's how you have to think about.
Right.
And that's
his Tom Herman's motto. Tom Herman's motto, his ideology, and I love it.
Yeah.
You should always have some type of facilities project going on at a place like Texas.
Yeah. No, I agree with him.
There should always be something in the works.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And for Texas for too long, the locker room. The locker room is so primitive. I've seen photos of it, and I've had people close to the Kansas program that told me, "Hey, I've been seeing the Texas locker room, and I've seen the Kansas locker room. Kansas has a better football locker room than Texas does right now."
Get out of here, man. I'm telling you. That's just blasphemy.
Because David Beatty remember, David Beatty
Kansas
was
doing a good job recruiting right now.
Texas propaganda machine.
David Beatty was on Kevin Sumlin's staff at A&M. The KU boosters aren't paying David Beatty that much money, right? Like David Beatty's one of the lowest paid Power 5 coaches in the country. And he knows he's not going to get like vast improvements to the stadium because let's face it, Memorial Stadium in Lawrence is a dump. It
is what it is. Until you start winning.
Where David Beatty wanted to put the money in was the facilities, the things recruits can see when they come in.
Mm-hmm.
So he invested a lot of money in the locker room and basically copied the same locker room concept A&M had when A&M redid their facilities a couple years ago. Where you got the monitors, not the barbershop, but you got like the video screens in each locker and all that, all kind of the bells and whistles, everything.
Yeah.
It's basically what KU did. Texas doesn't have that kind of stuff. And again, to a lot of people, that stuff might not matter, but to the 17, 18-year-old recruits coming into your facility,
where you're going to live for your next 4 years,
that stuff matters.
It does. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, The Lost Dies has that great quote, right? We don't. What is it? We don't keep up with the Joneses. We are the Joneses.
Yep.
Well, I would say the Johnsons are catching up with the Joneses. Thank you, Matt. But yeah, that's what's happening pretty much. The Johnsons are catching up with the Joneses.
So
Johnson and Johnson has caught up. There's a lot of Johnsons out there.
I know Tom Herman talked about it during his signing day press conference. With some of the stuff I reported a little bit before that. Basically, the entire lower level of Moncrief is going to be redone at some point. It's going to be done in stages, but that's the weight room, that's the team meeting rooms, all the locker room, all that stuff is going to get redone and be brought up to where it should be at a place like Texas. I know they've done a lot of things with the graphics on the walls. There were kind of like fathead style graphics in the building in some places. All that stuff is if it hasn't been torn out already, it's in the process of being torn out.
Yeah.
You know, you can do things like those, but I would like to see them redo that first level of Moncrief when you walk in. You know, if you're just street level, right? You walk in.
Oh, with all the trophies.
Yeah,
and
there's
stuff?
the secretary's desk right there, and you walk down the hall a little bit by the coaches' offices, and there's the national championship trophies. The captain's wall. It's not really a captain's wall. It's just kind of the captain's pictures are kind of in the middle right there. I would like to see that be redone and be as top of the line as possible. And open that thing to the public, man. Let fans come in there if they want to get a picture next to Earl Campbell's Heisman Trophy, or maybe they're a Derek Johnson fan. They want next to the Butkus Award, the DJ one. They want a picture of that, or they want pictures of the national championship trophies. Just kind of open that thing up like during certain hours of the day and but make it to where when you walk in, you feel like you're walking into something really special. And maybe it's because I go there so often. Man, it doesn't really feel like when you walk into Moncrief, you're walking into something like jaw-dropping. You're not walking into some place that you just should be in awe of. Given the other facilities I've been in where you do feel like, wow, like that's – like if you look at like the setup Oklahoma has, you walk in the Switzer Center, you're like, wow, this is – I get the feeling of the tradition. Like you said, Rod, it's got to be – you got to find – this is the challenge for Tom Herman when you're redoing facilities. You got to find the balance between appealing to the 17, 18-year-old while at the same time preserving the rich history of your program.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's the type of stuff you could – and in a place like Texas, the thing that's nice about Texas, you can sell both. You can sell – we've got the best of the best facilities. We got top-of-the-line stuff, but Heisman's and national awards and national championships – we also want to display that because that's really why you come
Well,
here.
and Tom Herman's doing that. He's he's made some kind of low key hires. He hired a couple people from Alabama. Yeah. You know, like they do like creative content folks, stuff like that. Like he's bringing in those folks, basically think tank. Right, you want a think tank, and this will also help you with ideas of how the program. Like I agree with you about the when you walk in initially into the ground level of Moncrief and the facilities right there. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's too dark in there too. Yeah, like it should be more light in there. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're gonna make it dark, like it should be cooler. I agree. I mean, they have everything like really nice, and it's kind of traditionally really nice. But as you pointed out, you want to. I mean, man, these kids are used to being stimulated. Yeah, they are. I mean, that's what the computers and all this stuff are about, man. That's what millennials are all about. Like, you should have a hologram in there. Like, it should be, you know what I mean? You should have a hologram.
Have a highlight video or something playing.
No, that should be like a hologram.
Well,
it's Texas,
I just Googled it.
That should be a little, like, just how you do a Tupac hologram, that should be holograms of VY and Earl Campbell there. Like, just sitting there, just like hanging out, doing a thing. Like, and there should be, like different, like, little screens where you can, like a museum where you can press it and do, like, history stuff on Texas and by different people. Like, I agree, man. If you're going to do it right. I think they're heading in a direction, but that is what relates to young people. Like, trust me, man, I don't get it. I don't know what's cool anymore. I'm not cool anymore. All right, I'm not cool anymore. I know that. All right, I'm getting to the point where I'll cut my own damn hair. I know I'm not cool anymore, but I do know that millennials are all about being stimulated, and they're all about what is hip and what is trending. And Texas right now, it's not the cool school to go to. When I was coming to Texas, believe it or not, Texas was like a cool, trendy school. Ricky Williams was a rebel with a cause. They had the new kind of trendy coach. They were redoing everything. They had the nice facilities. It was the cool place to go. I don't know if Texas is the cool place to go anymore. I'm not cool, though. I'm not young. I'm not 17. But from what I can gather, it ain't. Go look at the recruiting class we just pulled in. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously. And Tom Herman admitted that as such. Like, nope, it ain't the case anymore, guys. We got a long way to go, a lot of work to do.
And when you look at the schools across the way, I mean, you just brought up right there, we're ones that we're older. We have plenty of ideas, but we don't know what to relate to the school. Yeah. Look at the school. I just Googled it. Texas, one of the most best in the nation interior design, respected worldwide. Go get in bed with the young kids. You have a new crop every single day of kids that know Texas and love Texas. Get the interior design school. Come over and share some ideas. You have the best art school across the board with those ideas to be able to build the holograms. Have it all being born inside itself with the Longhorn Network that you had said. Like, all these resources are right there on campus, like one of the best interior design schools. So if, you feel like you're a 45-year-old football coach or 40-year-old football coach, you don't know what school, talk to the kids. Go and tell the kids, work on a project, send them in, design our next one. It'll be one that will make it cool for those kids. We don't have a Phil Knight that is that visionary. But you may have one at Texas right now as a student, and you have 50,000 kids that can help you do it for free.
I agree. That's a good point. That's a contest.
Yes.
Ooh, Tom Herman should do a contest.
I mean, like right here, interior design, one of the most respected worldwide. Like, I mean, why not?
You should do a contest with the interior design school about helping. Get one of their
rebuild
projects.
it.
Yeah. Ooh, that's got it.
The LHN, that's a TV show right there.
It's a reality show.
What do they do? Trade-in spouse, all that stuff.
LHN. This is Longhorn Blitz just helping you out.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
So it's an uphill battle for Tom Herman in terms of getting Texas facilities on par. Even just being some of the best in the Big 12. Because, man, you think about it, Rod. You think about this league. Oklahoma's one of those schools that every year seems like they're doing a little something every year. Bob Stoops has made sure their facilities are up to par. TCU's just gotten done.
Yeah.
Basically, we're doing it. Basically, it's a brand new Amon Carter over there.
I heard
a brand new complex.
Yeah, they got tons of money.
Baylor's got new everything.
Yeah, everything.
Texas Tech, I think, is in the process of updating stuff, and they've fallen way behind from what I've heard. Just about Kansas has a really nice locker room. Iowa State has relatively new facilities. I mean, K-State has a new facility. That end zone complex. They've redone that in recent years. So, man, I'm telling you, like, Texas, in terms of just in the Big 12, has fallen pretty far behind of where they should be, where you think Texas would be.
Yeah.
And I think this should probably – and I think part of it, too, and this got brought up we had a staff chat at horns247.com today, and somebody's asking, man, how can that happen? It goes back to kind of one of the things we talked about. When Matt came in, Matt galvanized the donor base and, like, hey, if you want to be the best, this is what we got to do to be the best.
Yep.
But you look at the way Mac's tenure ended, the way the Charlie Strong hiring process of the next head coach after him kind of went, and there weren't a lot of people on board with the Charlie Strong hire. When the people you're expecting to give you money aren't on the same page with you and your vision, it's hard to upgrade facilities.
Great point.
I think now that the vast majority of this fan base and the donor base specifically is on board with Tom Herman, believes in his vision, knows that you've got a guy who not only has he won, does he have a formula and a plan and a pedigree that should be able to win at Texas. He understands Texas. A lot of people are behind him. I think now you've got a chance to see some of that stuff through.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about the donor base, though, being galvanized under Tom Herman. I mean, that's even the press conference, right, was a little bit symbolic of that. All the old faces, the Lost, Max, Sally, Edith Royal. And so it's like, bring the BBs back in the backs, as Mac would always say. So I agree with that. Maybe now he can get – and that's one of his – and not saying Tom Herman's a politician, but I think he learned a lot of his political savvy from Mac Brown, who was one of the all-time greats at that, handling himself in front of the media, had those talking points, those pivot points, and he's always even those analogies you kind of remember already.
Right.
He's been talking about these facilities. What's the two things he's been talking about upgrading? Everybody knows what they are: facilities and the support staff. Because every time he gets a chance, he brings up, whether he's on ESPN or whether he's talking to Fox or whether he's talking to LHN, he's bringing up the support staff and he's bringing up the facilities. He sounds like a politician, right? There,
more.
When it needs
Sounds
money.
like LeBron.
When a politician needs money, they talking about the same thing. Hey, boom, this is my platform. This is my platform. And that's always almost what he's running on. Like, so when he talks to a donor, like, hey, man, you know what I need. Yeah, I heard you need support staff. I heard you need, you know what I mean? Yeah, we need that. So we need to beef up everything. So he's made no secret that these are my intentions.
Right.
So I come here to expand. And it's weird because when Steve Patterson came in, I know I'm sorry for mentioning he who shall not be named. OG, yeah, he's another one who just worked out for the Cowboys, by the way.
Nice.
Garrett Gilbert's gone way down the list of people
he
was on the Raiders the other day.
Yeah, we love Garrett.
It's almost the point. Garrett Gilbert wasn't that bad.
We love Garrett. I always loved Garrett Gilbert. But listen, now OG Stevie P, you're right. He is who shall not be named.
Garrett Gilbert went on the road and beat Nebraska, beat a top 5 Nebraska team.
Hey, you know what? We would have loved to have Garrett Gilbert back here.
2014, man.
That would have been awesome.
Hey, Garrett, get out there, man.
Him and John Harris would have thrown for 5,000 yards. That would have been awesome. But
okay, now the point I was bringing up about before we started getting into the Garrett Gilbert thing,
Steve Patterson,
is Stevie P wanted to shrink the budget, shrink everything. Actually, I think they did shrink a little bit this year compared to what they were growing year over year. He came in too. I mean, he started cutting things and reducing costs. And remember, OG Stevie P was the dude who never had no money. You know what I mean? He's the millionaire, never had money. I ain't got no money, man. I ain't got no money. We broke. Basically, Texas was broke. I love when he would always tell me like, hey, we
talking
money.
in tax
we ain't got
codes.
No money. What y'all talking about?
It's like when a pro team has a $40 million loss.
He's like, man, we in debt. And we're like, well, it says here, Steve Patterson, that you guys made. No, what do you know? We got bills to pay. How you keep them lights on right there? You know how much money it costs to keep them lights on? Like, he was always complaining about the bills and money. So I think
it's like your dad when you're growing up.
Yeah.
Boy, turn that light off. You know how much money it costs to run these
Roll
lights?
that window up. You're letting the AC out.
that's Stevie B, man. Stevie B was cheap. He's on an island somewhere just laughing it up. But he was cheap than an SOB. But I think it's kind of the opposite because, yeah, I mean, when he came in, it was all about cutting everything. And now you got someone who comes in, they want to basically expand it more than it's ever been expanded before in the history of the program. But everybody's got to be on the same page. You brought up how disjointed the family was. OG Stevie P is a big part of that because he was trying to shrink all the budgets and cut people and cut jobs and all that kind of stuff. And he was the bad guy. He was the hatchet man, as I called him. He was brought in to be the hatchet man. It's my hatchet man theory. They were going to fire him after. They basically said, man, we're going to fire you after 2 years anyway because you're going to be so unpopular. But we need you to do a job.
Burn all the bridges so you can be the final bridge to be burned.
Fire Mac. Do what you got to do.
But to continue with that same talk about the facilities, if you look and just think, is like, how do you get to this point? It's sort of like you never know you aren't cool until you're told you aren't cool. Like if Texas was so close to it for so long and always had the great facilities, you don't see it diminish the next year. You don't see it diminish the next year. You don't see it. But when you get a generation removed from those Vince kids and they still see what was there back from the 05 area, then you have to be told you aren't cool because you don't have the awareness. Rarely are you self-aware enough to choose to not be cool and just keep on going.
Yeah, I guess self-awareness is a problem. It's kind of like my iPod, like on my iTunes account. Me and my brother road tripped. We went to a Rangers game last spring, and I was like, well, hey, I'll plug in my phone, listen to what I got on my iPod. And I realized I've got stuff on here like from high school. And my brother's like, hey, your music choices need to go somewhere past, I don't know, like 2006. I'm like, yeah, I need to go through and clean that thing out. You're right, I'm old, man.
You're old.
But you didn't know.
I've got way too much new metal on my iTunes account. It's way too much new metal in a person.
No, that's right. Somebody got to tell you that when you were cool because you were cool for so long. Yeah. Good point.
Mac Brown fought that for like 3 or 4 years until the very end.
There was a time when new metal was cool, was it not? There was a time
I don't even know what's new metal.
You know, like Limp Bizkit, Korn, that type stuff.
Late 90s, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Limp Bizkit.
Exactly. Thank you,
wow. I haven't heard that name in like a decade.
It's been a minute.
I was laughing because I was watching the Spurs game the other night. And you know when you're at certain arenas that haven't changed their music and the PA guy is playing the same music. They've just added a song from every year because it was going from like Ring Ding Dong to it was Kid Rock's Ball with the Ball, and I was like, "Yep, nope, that's the same group right there." 1999.
Kid Rock falls under new metal as well.
That's how you know you don't care about being cool anymore. That's how you know you're old.
Yeah, there you go.
You don't care.
All right, let's talk about some spring ball. I got a couple questions on the Facebook Live. Basically asking, what do we think about the defense, the offense, the quarterback situation. We've talked about some of the stuff, and we got plenty of time to go in depth on that. But I want to ask you guys a simple question. I gave it to you guys for homework a couple weeks ago, and we never got back to it.
Oh, man. Once again, I didn't do my homework.
Standout
I gave you guys like a couple extra weeks.
I got out of the shower one day, and I was like, what did Jeff ask me that one time?
All right, go ahead.
I'm like that a-hole professor and start giving Fs to everybody.
I thought of okay. Go
you
ahead.
thought you got away? No, pop quiz, hot shot.
And trust me, the F for you guys isn't going to just be failing. It's going to stand for something else altogether. Anyway, give me a player or one on each side of the ball or something. Who's got to have experience the most growth, be the most productive from now until spring ball starts on March 6th? Who is most pivotal in terms of their growth for this team?
It's a simple one. Whoever's starting quarterback.
Okay, let's take quarterback out of the equation.
That's a good one.
Because that's
then Malik.
You think Malik?
Yes, on the other end.
Okay, why would you say Malik, Matt?
Because he's the one piece that's versatile, that could actually be a playmaker that I don't think anywhere on that side you have anybody that has stood out as an individual player that can dominate athletically. So if you can have him excelling and maximizing, it's going to make everything else easier because defenses will be focusing on them and they'll be able to have more one-on-one matchups.
Can I give you a position?
You give me whatever you want, Rod. You got the floor.
I'm a little biased.
You're going to say nickel.
I'm a little – no, actually, I like the nickel. I like
P.J. Locke, man.
P.J. Locke might have been the most consistent guy in the secondary.
I think he was, yeah. I think he was.
He was real good.
Yeah, I like P.J. Locke. I'm going to go with I want a corner that can cover. I don't even want a shutdown corner anymore. I maybe that's too unrealistic. I just want one that is like his skill, like his X-Man ability is that, man, he can cover. That's just what he can do. He can straight up cover.
Just fundamentally sound.
I don't know if we have that guy.
Let me ask you this:
like
as far as
you know what I mean, like a natural. I think we got really talented DBs. Who's our I thought it was going to be Houghton Hill or Devontae Davis. Like
I think Chris Boyd,
corners.
I think, is the best man cover guy on the roster right now.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, Rod. This kind of goes into more schematic stuff, and I need to watch more of U of H's defense to see kind of what kind of coverages Todd Orlando prefers.
Yeah.
But talking to people around the Big 12 and looking at this, because we talked about Charlie Strong was trying to model this defense after the Seahawks, and I even asked Brian Jean-Marie about it last fall, and he said, yeah, that was one of the things they were going after.
Rangy corners.
You can recruit. It's easier to recruit length than speed, basically. Is what
Deshaun Elliott, Houghton Hill, Devontae Davis.
And you talk to people in the Big 12, and you look at the Seahawks, and Rod, you know this. People in the Big 12 say everybody in the Big 12 plays some kind of quarters coverage. Like, that's what your personnel should dictate. And you look at the Seahawks, they do play a lot.
They play thirds a lot, too. They like the middle
quarters
field
and thirds
safeties,
and different kind of zone-type concepts. Charlie Strong really didn't do that. He said he didn't like playing quarters. He didn't like playing, thirds and things like that.
So he liked the athletes in the Seahawks Legion of Boom defense, but he wanted to play more man.
And basically, it's almost like, okay, I get it, but now in hindsight, you think about it, maybe you were just plugging in the wrong piece. You had the wrong pieces to the puzzle.
You had the right concept. You just had the wrong pieces. You were putting in the wrong piece. Or maybe, man, that's
whatever the analogy is. It didn't fit. It just didn't fit. Well, you had a vision for where you wanted to go, but the vision might not have aligned with what you liked.
It still should have worked, though, theoretically, because you had these big, long, rangy corners on the outside.
Sort of just adds on to it.
Yeah,
that
I
you had
thought,
the length.
Yes, I thought it was perfect. I was like, man, this is going to work out perfectly.
Well, that's what we thought going into the year.
But you still have to have the base that you have to be, like you were saying, Rod, in the very beginning, to be a fundamentally sound, a good corner, and then be one that's rangy and athletic.
What happened was, and I think we can all agree with this, because he had those big corners out there at first. That was the plan. We all had the same plan.
Right.
That was
Everybody was on the same page.
Yes. They didn't develop those guys, man. Those guys' technique was terrible. It was bad. They got burned a lot. There was no point in them playing bump and run coverage because they never tried to bump the guys. They were just playing run. It was run coverage.
Right.
It was like a track meet out there. I was like, well, hell.
Well, if you're bumping, you're just getting out of position.
Defeats the purpose of you being 6'1" and being long like Richard Sherman. You know what I mean? So you're supposed to be teaching those guys how to be like masters, experts at the bump and run. That's what I thought they were going to do. Like, dude, teach those guys. They could, because I was kind of like that, dude. I studied bump and run. I could come down and play bump and run coverage on almost anybody. That's what we did 80% of the time. So hell, that's what we were good at. And I thought they were gonna do a lot of that. And then when they did change it up, have those guys do a lot of bell technique, maybe have them play a little off man every now and then, trying to change it up, make it look like it was zone. But they didn't do that because the guys just didn't develop into great man coverage. They just weren't great man coverage corners. They weren't. Right. They just weren't. And then he shuffled. We did the cornerback shuffle. Hell, it should have been a dance. You know what I mean? Like we went through. Hell, we were week to week. We didn't know who the hell the starting corners were going to be.
We got to a point in the year where we're like, okay, maybe depending on the opponent is going to depend on who your starting corners are.
And then he got to the point where he liked John Bonnie and Chris Boyd. And we were like, hell, man, John Bonnie made a comeback. That's, John Bonnie was like the scarecrow from Wizard of Oz at one point. And now he was out there making plays. There you go.
Yeah, there was no continuity. Even when you thought somebody would be, he may be able to step up this week, and then he wouldn't even come on the field.
Yeah.
And then, Houghton Hill had the weird, like, he had just six.
There were
DMP coaches' decisions, but it was like the most random 5 or 6 game suspension I've ever seen. It's like he'd play 2 games and suspended, then he's back for 2, then suspended, and then he's back. He's back. He's not back. Like,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I
didn't get it.
Yeah. And Charlie's explanation for we just like certain guys. Okay, you can't tell me Houghton Hill was your best corner last year, and then all of a sudden you just don't like him.
Well, it happened with a lot of players, right? John Burt, favorite receiver last year, pretty much, and at least one of the top, and then he falls off. Malik Jefferson has to be benched. We saw that. That was a trend.
To me, for the second offseason in a row, the most intriguing position group to me is wide receiver.
Man, so deep.
Because you've got guys that were in a certain system. Now you're going to a completely different system that's going to fit different skill sets now. And this is how I kind of see it. I really think you got a potential bona fide number 1 wide receiver in Colin Johnson. I think Colin Johnson in this offense, when you look at how U of H use their receivers and how they profile, Colin Johnson is basically a bigger, stronger, faster, better version of what Tom Herman had at U of H. I think he fits that same mold. I think as a number 2, and for lack of a completely better comparison, I can't think of one right now off the top of my head, but it's just because I compared John Burt to one of these guys. I think if John Burt's your number 2, think of it this way. Think of it as kind of like Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper. You've got a guy that's just, he kind of does it all, which would be Colin Johnson, kind of that Michael Irvin or whatever. And then you've got a guy in John Burt who maybe John Burt's not a number 1, but maybe John Burt is a really, really, really good number 2.
Yeah.
Kind of like not all that different from Mike Davis. Maybe he's just a 1B receiver. You know, he's not a 1A. He's not your number 1, but as a complementary piece or as a secondary piece, I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And that shows to like the vision that a coach would have with the offense, that if you saw that these guys could be those complementary pieces where on the field they elevate one another because one may draw the attention being the versatile all-around guy that's going to give you those one-on-one matchups. So whenever you bring that safety over to shade to your better guy, you're going to get that one-on-one matchup to burn deep when needed. So you can see how one could make the other better if they are working within that offense together. So
They lost their second leading receiver, Jake Oliver. He basically retired, forego the rest of his eligibility to start his post-football career. So, I mean, he actually was second on the team in receptions. You don't know that. Like, fifth in yards. But that just shows how deep they are at wide receiver. That's not even a concern that a guy who was that productive for you is leaving because they are just so deep. It's not even a concern that a lot of people want Gerard Hurd to move from wide receiver, where he was extremely productive, back to quarterback because they are deep. We even talk about Monty Foreman yet. I mean, Reggie Hemphill Maps hasn't even been unveiled yet. I mean, they are just really deep at wide receiver.
Still got a little Jordan Humphrey to think about, Davion Curtis,
Lorenzo Joe.
And that Oliver's a great example of the type of player, though, that how you can get so much out of a player just strictly on him understanding his surroundings and understanding his role within the offense. Because for him to say, well, no, I know I don't have any future, I'm going to give it up despite me being this successful, shows that he knows his talent level is so far below those guys that weren't on the field. But that also shows that if those kids can get to where he was in understanding the pre-snap situation and coverages in the game within the offense, then you can really maximize those players.
Haven't talked about Duvernay.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Devin, but that's why the Jake Oliver departure on the surface, you'd say, 33 catches last year, that's big time. Guys, Jake Oliver probably didn't have a role in this offense. Like, he was perfect as the big inside receiver in that fear and shoot offense. Yeah. It was perfect for him. Yeah. But Tom Herman really doesn't use a flex tight end because Tom Herman's going to use tight ends for what they were intended for. Your mic's off, Rod.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, you're going to use them for what they were intended for. And you look, he had true, legitimate, like, 5-tool guys that had a couple of them at Ohio State. He had Tyler McCluskey, who was more of like an H-back type at U of H, but they're going to use the tight ends. So there's really not a role for a guy like Jake Oliver, which kind of makes you wonder, okay, where does little Jordan Humphrey kind of fit into this in the grand scheme of things? But man, I think if you look on the outside, I think you've got really three legitimate outside guys in Colin Johnson, Dorian Leonard, and John Burt, and then 2 guys with Lorenzo Joe and Armonte Foreman who can be outside or inside. Yeah. Gerard Hurd's obviously going to be a slot guy. Duvernay's a slot guy. Curtis is a slot guy. Humphrey's probably an outside guy. Man, you've got plenty of depth, and that's not even factoring the 2 guys you just signed.
Yeah, you got a ton of talent at wide receiver.
I want to see.
Doesn't matter if you don't give them the football, but Texas has 2 quarterbacks that everybo's optimistic about.
One, and you, Rod, you hit the nail on the head, and I've kind of stolen this from you, so I owe you. Shane Buechele is someone who we know can, and Tom Herman has to feel like can play the quarterback position at a competent level, which is more than what Charlie Strong. I mean, Charlie Strong had David Ash, but as we know, we should have seen it coming. Yeah. That wasn't going to last. Yeah, just with David Ash's health situation. Yeah. So and then the other position that I really focus on is the offensive line, because I think you can see kind of a changing of the guard there, so to say. Kent Perkins is out. But, really, Connor Williams, we know, is going to be the starting left tackle. We know that Zach Shackelford is going to occupy probably your starting center job. Yeah. We've got a pretty good idea that Patrick Vahe and Jake McMillan are going to flank him. But other than that, I mean, do we see guys like Patrick Hudson or Denzel Okafor or Gene DeLance? Do those guys get a chance to emerge, and do they emerge this spring?
Man, that's a loaded position too, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I if I'm for Tom Herman, who's an offensive guru, an offensive guy with that much depth at wide receiver and offensive line, and then having, like you said, at least a guy can play the quarterback position. We know his ceiling is at a high level, but at least he can go out there and give you an average performance and play it at a competent level. Man, I think, and then you have the running back position we haven't talked about, but you still have Chris Warren there. I think the Texas offense is in a really good place. I know they're still in an offensive identity crisis because they are changing schemes once again. That's like, 4 or 5 different schemes in the last 6-7 years. But I feel good about what Tom Herman can do with the raw materials on this offense. I think it's going to be pretty damn explosive.
You know what else you can do, Rod? What your depth now allows you to do, you can be legitimately 2 deep and have 2 different units going in practice.
Yes, true. With Sam Ehlinger working in one group. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And you need him to be working. We
exactly.
need the reps. He needs the reps.
Because Sam Ehlinger's your backup quarterback right now.
Yeah. What's Matthew Merrick doing? Is he just third string?
Yeah, we'll see.
Nobody knows anything about the Matthew Merrick. He's like a great mystery.
We talked about him maybe last week and the week before, but, I mean, we really don't know that much about him. I mean, former basketball player. Former basketball player. I mean, of the quarterbacks they took in 2015, Kyle Oxley's not here. Matthew Merrick still is.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, can you get to a point? I know in the previous offense, from what I heard, Sterling Gilbert was of the opinion that Merrick could possibly end up being the ceiling for him was to be the backup this year. That was his ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know if I like the ceiling of my quarterback is to be backup.
But that's kind of what you were dealing with, though.
I understand that. That's a good point. I mean, I
consider myself the total package.
Exactly. When you recruit those guys, I'm assuming that they thought the ceiling is higher. Then once you get them in,
they took Merrick. They took Merrick completely as a project.
Okay.
And let's not forget the fact he worked with Kevin Murray was his private coach. Texas was recruiting Kyler Murray.
What does that mean?
Not gonna. Hey, you got to get it in somewhere, right?
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think
not saying that's the case, but connect the dots. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, you got quarterback depth. Even if you don't know what he's got, at least you got a third guy there.
Yeah,
a body. You know what I mean?
And Gerard Hurd's going to work some quarterback.
I think Gerard Hurd.
I don't know how much.
I think they got him. I think you should make considering how deep you are at wide receiver. I let him make the move until the quarterback competition is settled. Hell, because he might end up being my backup. I don't know.
Okay, but think about this. Think about this for a second. We got a couple minutes, and then we got to wind it down because Rod's got to get to a meeting. But think about this, though, Rod. Are you that turned off by what Gerard Hurd did at quarterback in 2015, where he really struggled at times, or is that more of a product of the chaos around him, and maybe in kind of more of a controlled offensive environment, maybe you give him another chance?
Yes, that was a nature versus nurture thing, right?
You look at the quarterback position. In theory, he sort of can be working at both because you got to know what the receivers are doing. It's not as if conceptually it's going to take away from. Now, it would be better to be getting actual reps at the one you may be best chance to play, but since they sort of are intertwined within the same plays and offenses, he at least, I think, can seamlessly move to the other if one is needed with depth. It would just assume that quarterback is where you would need to practice because it's a lot more complex of one if you want him to have any chance of being a backup.
Yeah, and it's a new offense too. So if you're gonna have a legitimate chance to compete at the position, which you would like to see him actually get a good sample size of what he can do in the offense, I think they should just move him there at least for the spring full time.
See what the best athlete with the ball in his hands can do with it.
I think he's going to end up being a package player.
Yeah, just be open to it is all I would say.
I agree.
I'm just always open to stuff.
Should be a possibility.
I mean, Gerard Hurd, from everything I've heard, and we knew this with the experiment last year, moving to receiver, he's not going to fight it or complain about it. He's kind of down for whatever.
And it looks like he can just move over to that pretty seamlessly and be effective. He already did that without any offseason of practice in it, really.
That is true.
I think I do, and I'll say this in closing. I've hammered this home time and again, and I'll continue to do it until either somebody comes in or they move Hurd there permanently or whatever happens. I don't think they want to bring in somebody to necessarily compete with Shane Buechele to be the starting quarterback.
Okay.
I think what Tom Herman wants is a veteran insurance policy. And in case something were to happen to Buechele, you have a guy that you feel like can play that position competently.
What about the Sam Ehlinger factor.
That's to be determined. I don't know where you go with that, Rod.
Interesting.
I don't know.
You don't believe they're going to redshirt him, and
I don't think so.
They can't afford to.
As of right now, you can't afford to.
Yeah, unless you're going to make that Gerard Hurd move. That's why you have to see what Gerard Hurd can do in spring. You almost have, because I agree, you almost have to exhaust all possibilities.
Right, but my point of contention on an Ellinger redshirt is this: we saw
I'm
how
not saying he's going to do
right.
it.
We saw how good Shane Buechele, and I'm saying people are like, you got a redshirt. Okay, we saw how good Shane Buechele was in an offense that fit his skill set as a true freshman last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What if by chance Sam Ellinger was that good? I mean, the odds of it happening aren't great, but what if?
Yeah.
What if you get through spring ball like Charlie Strong and that staff got through spring ball last year? It was like, damn, we don't have a competition anymore. We know who the guy is.
Oh, no, don't you remember? It was a competition to the very last week, Jeff. Tyrone Swoops was competition. Yeah, exactly.
Competition.
That's what Charlie wanted us to believe. Anyway, but I get your point. You're right.
Yeah. You can't. You've got it. You've got all spring. Rod, you know this from being a player. Spring ball is a time when no option is a crazy option. Everything's on the table.
I agree. It's good. Well, that's why the Gerard Hurd thing makes sense. But yeah, I understand why they don't want anybody to compete. with
And I'm not disagreeing with you about Hurd. My prediction is I think he just becomes kind of a package player. I don't think.
Okay. No, I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a full-time move because I think he's still one of your most explosive playmakers. You got to have him on the field and put him in positions to where you can have the ball in his hands.
He can be that luxury if you need it.
Not just insurance, but, again, Shane Buechele's not all of a sudden going to be 230 pounds.
No.
The more you can protect him and minimize the amount of contact he takes, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Yeah, I agree with that, which is why the package plays make sense. And I agree with that at a minimum. But I think at the most, you should work them out at quarterback just in case, like you said, just in case something happens. You never know. So have all your options open.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Blitz. But you know how we do it each and every week. We don't let you out of here until we get you Matt's Stats of the Week.
Hey, Matt, how you been?
I'm going to run you through the NBA tonight. There are going to be a lot of players out. Jimmy Butler out against Golden State. Dwayne Wade, game-time decision, so I'm going to avoid that game. Maybe some Michael Carter-Williams. But looking at some other big-time plays, Jeff Teague against Cleveland. Cleveland, Indiana, going to be a damn good game. Also back and forth, Toronto and Minnesota. Going to look at Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. Going to be stacking up Sacramento. Boogie Cousins got suspended. He had 15th and 16th technical fouls. He's gone, so all those role players, Ty Lawson, Cauley Stein, Costa Kofis, Anthony Tolliver, Darren Collison, going to be really good ones. Then looking at Dennis Schroeder against Denver. The Nuggets, attack those Nuggets. The point guard's not very good. Nikola Jokic, also a player, been balling out of control. Then Washington, the Wizards, stack them against the Nets. Going to be a quality play. Other good plays today going to be Blake Griffin. Really like him. He's taking on New York, a horrible defense. Still no CP3, so real high usage. Then a couple other ones would be Rudy Gobert, Tyson Chandler, Gordon Hayward, and Mike Conley against Phoenix. Those guards suck at defense.
Man, how'd you pronounce those names quickly?
Costa Kofis.
That was pretty interesting. Yeah, that was
Thank
good.
you.
That took talent, brother.
Got lucky I didn't bite my own tongue.
Matt, appreciate everything, man.
You were more than welcome.
Rod B, appreciate the time and the knowledge.
Anytime, brother, anytime.
For Matt, for Rod, for Travis, who videoed it, the best damn videographer in the podcast game. Feeling better this week, by the way. He was a little under the weather last week.
He's a trooper
this week. For everybody, the AM 1300 The Zone, AM1300thezone.com, where you can hear this podcast each and every week. And thanks to Matt, you get us on iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and any podcast app.
Yep, type in Longhorn Blitz.
For the Zone family, for the Horns 24/7 family, I am Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for downloading and listening, and we will catch you again on the next episode.
You've been listening to Longhorn Blitz with Horns247.com. Remember, for the latest Longhorn news 24/7, visit Horns247.com.